Hello, my name is Lucy Roberts and I'm a nutrition student. I've put together a presentation that I believe will be interesting and helpful for you. Thank you for taking the time to attend. So the presentation is about healthy overtime food strategies. When working 80 hours a week, you don't have time to plan and prepare your own snacks and meals. So this will provide some ways to navigate your food options. Overtime foods aren't always the healthiest. They can be oversized in portions and high in fat. So we'll look at how to easily identify a single portion of each food group and also how to evaluate and choose the best overtime food option. An easy way to make sure you don't consume excess calories while eating at work is to have a rough idea of how many portions of each food group you should have per day and what that portion looks like. So for this demographic, assuming that you engage in a moderate level of physical activity, so that's anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes of moderate physical activity per day, you're going to want to consume around 26 to 2,800 calories. If you aren't hitting that 30 minutes of activity a day, your calorie needs will drop down to about 22 to 2,400. So for the purposes of our portion sizes today, we're going to assume that your calorie needs are around 2,400. So let's look at our first handout. So this is a USDA reference guide, and it shows along the top the calorie amount. So you'd find 2,400 calories, and then just go down from there. It's going to tell you how many portions of each food group you want to have per day. It also has some information on what the various food groups contain, what some good options are. So we're going to go through some pictures and identify correct portion sizes. You can use that handout as a reference as we go. So first thing, when you are estimating, sometimes it's hard to tell, a piece of cheese is going to come with a little sign always saying 1 ounce on it. So here's some things we can use. If you think about 4 dice, that's about 1 ounce. A deck of cards usually corresponds to about 3 ounces of meat. A tennis ball is about 2/3 of a cup. So here's some things you can use when you're looking at foods. So let's start with our first food group, so that's protein. So for your calorie needs, you want to have about 6.5 ounces of protein a day to look like this guy here. If we look at, say, a grilled chicken breast, well, the deck of card is there, so that would be about 3 ounces of meat. A hamburger patty, so the standard hamburger patty is about 3 ounces. Sometimes you might hear a quarter pounder as an option, and that's going to be 4 ounces. So you're getting pretty close to your 6.5 ounces of meat or protein for the day. An egg, how many ounces do you think 1 egg would be, say a fried egg?
I would say 2 ounce.
2 ounces, 1 egg is actually only 1 ounce, but
okay.
Pretty close. So 1 egg, 1 ounce of protein. So a handful of nuts, that's another really good snack option. An easy way to gauge just how many nuts fit in the palm of your hand. That's going to be about 1 ounce as well. All right, so let's look at dairy, second food group. We want to have about 3 cups of dairy a day. Now that might not look actually like 3 cups of milk, so let's take a look at some different food options for that. If you have a single serving size of yogurt, so one of the little containers that you could buy, that has about 6 ounces or 2/3 of a cup. So you're getting close to maybe 1/3 of your dairy requirement if you have one of those. Back to our cheese, so there's the 4 dice, so we know that's about 4 ounces. 4 ounces of cheese. And 1.5 ounces of cheese actually corresponds to 1 cup of portion size. So if you have, say, 6 dice worth of cheese, and you've hit 1 cup of your 3 cups for the day. And then just a glass of milk. So 1 cup of milk corresponds to 1 cup of portion size. So that's a glass, about an 8-ounce glass. So that's our dairy group. Then grains. So grains, whole grains, that's going to be rice, wheat, barley, cornmeal, so bread, cereals, pasta. for 2,400 calories a day, you're looking to have 8 1-ounce equivalents of grain. And we'll look at some examples of that. So say you order a hamburger and you get a bun. One hamburger bun has about 2-ounce equivalents. So that is a quarter of your grain requirements for the day. A cup of cereal. So a cup of cereal actually counts as 1-ounce equivalent from the grain group per day. And then just some other examples. So you might, for example, have a cup of cooked rice with your lunch or your dinner, or a cup of pasta, and that is going to count as 2-ounce equivalents as well. So that's it for a grain group. Let's look at fruits and vegetables. So pretty picture here, very colorful. We want to have about 2 cups of fruit and 3 cups of vegetables per day. And you're aiming to eat as many different colors as possible. So for vegetables, you want to have some dark leafy greens, some orange vegetables, all different colors of fruits. Let's look at an example. So when you talk about leafy greens, or any vegetable that doesn't pack down easily, that's actually 2 cups. So 2 cups of leafy greens will count as 1 of those vegetable cups for the day. So you eat twice as much because they're pretty, they take up a lot of space. But otherwise, 1 cup will correlate to 1 of those 2 or 3 cups per day, and that goes for fruit as well. And the only thing to think about here, and it makes sense, would be dried fruits. So dried cranberries, because they've been they're dense, they contain just as much calories as the actual fruit. So half a cup of dried fruit will count as 1 cup of fruit. So that's all of our food groups. Let's look or think a little bit here about calories and fat. So when you're eating takeout overtime food or snack food at work, it's important to be able to identify which foods are high in calories and or fats. These calorically dense foods, which may exceed proper portion sizes, can put you over your recommended calories for the day and negatively impact your ability to focus and perform. So let's look at our handout. So here's an example of some foods that you may have at work for an overtime food option. I have some pictures here for us to look at as well. So 5 overtime food options. First one is 2 slices of pepperoni pizza. Pretty common thing you might see. Next would be a chicken pad thai takeout. Another common option. For the chicken pad thai, that's going to be about a 1.5 cup portion that usually comes in those little white boxes. Here's a grilled chicken sandwich. We're going to assume it has a little mayo type dressing on it. A hamburger, we're going to say it's a single patty, a 4-ounce, with some vegetables, and the only condiments would be some mayo, tomato, and ketchup. And then a grilled chicken salad. And let's just say that for this grilled chicken salad, we're having it with 1 packet of dressing and maybe a creamy ranch dressing, plus all the toppings. So go ahead and take a minute. We're going to use our handout and go through it and mark down which foods you think are highest in calories and which foods you think are highest in fat. And then we'll go through the options afterwards. So feel free to take your time. I'll do it as well. Don't worry about getting a wrong answer here, just a little exercise for picking out the food. So most and least calories, most and least fat. which of these 5 options do you think has the highest amount of calories? Just a guess.
The hamburger.
The hamburger. Well, the hamburger actually has the 4th highest amount. So really close. The highest amount of calories is actually the chicken pad thai. Kind of surprising.
Wow.
So that could be the oil that they cook it in. Could add quite a bit. So chicken pad thai. Next up would be the hamburger. 3rd is the pizza.
The pizza.
Yeah, pepperoni pizza. And then the 4th, which one would you think there?
The grilled chicken sandwich.
The grilled chicken sandwich has the least amount of calories, so that's going to be our best option. So grilled chicken sandwich, least amount of calories, highest calories go to the chicken pad thai. 2nd highest calories is actually the grilled chicken salad, surprisingly. And most of that comes from the calories of that dressing, which added quite a bit.
Right.
So if you look at fat, which food would you think had the most fat out of these 5?
Pepperoni pizza.
The pepperoni pizza, we usually do think about pizza as being really fatty and greasy, but it's actually the so-called healthy option. The salad has the most fat. That pretty much comes from the dressing, could also be from the little bacon bits or croutons or cheese that we add on to salads, not really thinking about it. But good guess for the pizza. So that's the most fat. 2nd up would be the chicken pad thai and the hamburger. They kind of tie for the 2nd amount of fat. Then the pizza. So pizza is actually healthier even than burger and pad thai in terms of fat content. And the least amount of fat is going to be our grilled chicken sandwich. So the sandwich wins on both fronts. And we can go over some of the reasons for that calorie and fat here. So a lot of times you wouldn't know that. If I didn't look this stuff up, I might have thought the salad would have been the healthiest option as well. So how do you go about picking healthy over time foods if you want to have something that's fairly low in calories and low in fat? So one thing would be portion control. So an easy way to make sure that you're staying within your 2,400 calories for the day would be just to eat a smaller portion of something, So if there's whole pizza there, maybe you're just going to have 2 slices or 1 slice instead of 4 or 5. Another one to think about when you're choosing a burger is that a single patty is always better than a double. You're going to be pretty close to your protein requirements for the day, but you won't have any of the extra fat and calories that come from that 2nd patty. Another thing to think about would be avoiding any special sauces. So those extra sauces are really what gets you. They're usually high in fat. They have more calories than you think. A way to get around that would be to ask for your condiments on the side. So say with that salad, you could ask to have the dressing on the side. Then you know how much you're using. And when you're ordering chicken or fish, grilled is always better. You guys might already know that. Crispy chicken, crispy fish is going to have more calories, more fat than grilled. Salads, so they can be a good option, but as we saw, if you have the full thing of dressing, if you have a lot of toppings, they actually are not. So ways to get around that, ask for a reduced calorie dressing. Use only half the packet. For the toppings, maybe go for some nuts or dried fruit. If you use those in moderation, they're going to give you a lot of extra flavor, and they're going to have some healthy fats and nutrients in them as well. So there's some strategies for when you're looking at overtime food, some things to think about. Hopefully now you'll have a little bit of a guide to follow that will help you not only determine what a correct portion size is and how many servings of each food group you should be having each day, but also have an idea regarding how to choose healthier options for overtime food. Does anyone have any questions? We can talk about it after too. If you think of anything later, feel free to let me know. But thank you for letting me share this presentation with you. I hope it's been helpful. And and feel free to come up and talk with me after if you have any questions or comments.